It was a cool Friday night at the end of October, and my parents had gone out for a charity gala. They wouldn't be back until after midnight, so I was left alone in our quiet suburban home. I wasn't worried. Our neighborhood was safe, and I had lived there my whole life. I was used to being alone. The familiar hum of the house was soothing as I settled into my room, watching old movies on Netflix. But then I heard the sound. At first, it was faint, a rustling. Maybe the wind shifting something outside. I barely registered it until the voice broke through. A woman's voice, screaming. I sat up straight, the movie forgotten. The scream came again, desperate and filled with panic. It was coming from across the street. I moved to the window and peered outside, my pulse quickening. The house across from mine had been sold a few months ago to the Harrisons, a couple I'd barely gotten to know. Ethan Harrison, in his mid-30s, was a quiet man. But his wife, Emily, was kind and always waved when I passed by. They didn't seem like trouble. But what I saw through the window wasn't the picture of a happy couple I had imagined. Ethan was standing in their living room, his face twisted with rage, his finger jabbing in Emily's face. She was backing away, her hands raised in defense, but her body language screamed fear. Ethan's voice was muffled by the distance, but it was clear. He was furious. Then I saw him grab her by the arm and shove her against the wall. I heard her cry out, but it wasn't a cry of pain. It was a cry for help. That's when the panic set in. I grabbed my phone, but I couldn't bring myself to dial 911. I didn't know what to do. My eyes were fixed on them. Emily stumbled, and that's when Ethan did the unthinkable. He reached for a heavy metal object on the counter, something I couldn't identify from the window, and swung it toward her. The sickening thud that followed made my stomach churn. I could feel my heart in my throat. It felt like time had stopped. I couldn't breathe. Emily collapsed to the ground, and Ethan stood over her, his chest heaving. The light in their living room flickered, and for a moment, everything went still. I was too stunned to move. The only thing I could do was watch. That's when Ethan's gaze snapped toward my window. He saw me, his eyes locked on mine. I felt the blood drain from my face. I ducked quickly, my breath coming in short bursts as I scrambled to make sense of what had just happened. My hands shook as I pulled my phone from my pocket and dialed 911. But my finger hovered over the screen. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Before I could press send, I heard the door to their house slam. The sound echoed through the night. I couldn't wait. I dialed 911 and finally spoke through my panic. 911, what's your emergency? I saw something. Someone is hurt across the street, I stammered. I don't know if she's okay. I think... Just then, I heard footsteps. Slow, methodical. Someone was walking up the graveled path beside my house. I froze, my body paralyzed with fear. The footsteps stopped right outside my window. I whispered into the phone, "He's outside my house." The dispatcher's voice remained calm, but I could hear the urgency creeping in. "Stay on the line with me. Officers are on their way. Is there a way for you to lock the doors?" I didn't respond. I couldn't speak. The footsteps had moved to the back of the house. I heard the unmistakable sound of the back door handle rattling. My heart slammed against my chest. "I know you're in there, kid. A low voice called from the other side of the door. "I saw you. I know what you saw. Let's talk." I stayed silent, not even daring to move. My phone was still pressed to my ear, but I wasn't sure if I could speak again. I could hear him on the other side of the door, his breath slow and steady, as if he knew I was there, just waiting for me to make a move. "Open the door, Evan. I'm not going to hurt you," Ethan called. His voice was almost too calm. "You just need to let me in. You don't need to call anyone. Everything's fine. Just let me explain." I stayed still. I didn't want him to know I was still in the room. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. Then, I heard the first kick. It was hard enough that the doorframe shook. I gasped and pulled my knees to my chest, pressing my back against the wall. The door rattled again with another, more violent kick. I heard the wood splintering. "Open it, Evan," Ethan called again. His voice was louder now, more demanding. "You saw something you shouldn't have. This is all just a misunderstanding. I can make it right. Let me in?" His words were laced with a cold venom, but I didn't move. I was paralyzed with fear. Then the sound stopped. I held my breath, straining to listen. There was silence. For a few seconds, I thought maybe he'd given up. But then I heard it. The sound of glass shattering. My window. The glass fell to the floor with a sharp crash. I didn't even have time to react before I heard heavy footsteps on the hardwood. Ethan was inside. He was here. I pressed my body further into the corner of the room, trying to stifle my sobs as quietly as I could. Every muscle in my body screamed at me to move, to run, but I couldn't. My eyes were fixed on the closet door, waiting for the inevitable. I heard him move slowly through the house, checking the rooms. The footsteps came closer. He was almost in my room. I closed my eyes and prayed. The seconds felt like hours, but then, thank God, the sound of sirens broke through the silence. I heard the back door slam open, the sound of Ethan's footsteps running quickly across the floor. He was running. Within moments, the front door burst open, and I could hear officers shouting, guns drawn, entering the house. I stayed frozen until the sound of their boots on the floor signaled it was safe. I crawled out of my hiding spot, tears streaming down my face. The police asked me everything. I told them what I saw, what I remembered. They took pictures and evidence, and I could hear them talking in the other room. "Ethan Harrison is a former soldier," one of the officers said. "He's been suffering from PTSD. Neighbors have reported hearing violent arguments for weeks. The detectives told me that they would get him. They would catch him. But until then, I needed to stay safe." "Don't leave the house," the detective warned. "We don't know where he is yet, but he could be close. He's dangerous, Evan." The police went to Ethan's house, but when they came back, their faces told me everything. He was gone, and his wife, Emily, she was dead. That was 3 weeks ago. They haven't found him. I haven't seen him since that night. I know he's out there. I don't know what to do. I can't go outside alone anymore. I can't stay in the house by myself. I'm not allowed to be alone. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I still hear footsteps outside my window. I'm terrified to fall asleep. I was 6 the year Christmas changed forever. The year it stopped feeling like magic and started feeling like something sharp, cold, and dangerous. We had only been living in our new house for a few months. A weathered 2-story on the edge of Pine Ridge, a sleepy little town in northern Michigan. The kind of place where everyone knew your name, where kids played outside until dusk, and where people didn't bother locking their doors. My parents, Clara and Lucas, had bought the house because they said it had character. At 6, I didn't understand what that meant, but I did know it was the first time we'd ever had a home with enough space. My room was big enough for my old TV, all my Legos, and the massive collection of action figures I dragged everywhere. My older sister, Amelia, was 9 and had that typical bossy older kid energy that made her feel like she was at least 30. She and I were both obsessed with Christmas in the way only kids can be, counting down the days on a paper chain that we hung in the hallway, tearing off one link each morning like we were getting closer to treasure. But there was something about the house that made me uneasy. Not haunted, nothing supernatural, just too quiet at night. Pine Ridge was the kind of town where dads shoveled snow at dawn while moms warmed the car in their bathrobes. It wasn't the kind of place where bad things happened. At least, that's what we thought. That year, I was too excited to sleep again, like every other Christmas Eve. My mom always said if you don't sleep, Santa won't come. But I had a plan. I was determined to stay awake. I was playing Crash Bandicoot on my old box TV, bundled up in my favorite blanket that smelled like fresh laundry, the warm glow from the screen enough to keep the darkness at bay. At some point, my bladder won, and I had to pause the game. I turned the volume down to a whisper and slowly crept out of my room. The hallway was icy, the air biting against my skin. It was a brutal winter. Everyone in Pine Ridge said it was the coldest winter they'd seen in years. I padded down the stairs toward the bathroom, the house still quiet and peaceful. At least, it felt that way. I had no idea that by the time I returned, everything would change. After using the bathroom, I cracked open the door again. And that's when I heard it. A soft, rhythmic rustling sound, like someone gently shaking a Christmas tree. My first thought was that it was Santa. I wasn't stupid, though. I knew how Santa was supposed to look, but Christmas had a way of making even logical kids believe in magic. The rustling came again. This time, curiosity got the best of me. I tiptoed halfway down the stairs, gripping the wooden railing. The pine scent from the living room hit me harder than usual. Then I saw it. A tiny glow, not the warm, flickering lights of Christmas. This was the sharp beam of a flashlight. My heart slammed in my chest as I leaned forward just enough to catch a glimpse. There, behind the Christmas tree, stood a man. Not Santa. Not anyone I knew. A grown man, pale and scruffy, wearing a thick brown jacket and jeans. His beard was patchy and he wore thin gloves, the kind you buy for a couple of bucks at a gas station. He saw me instantly. Our eyes locked. Then he put his finger to his lips, a low, breathy whisper. Shh. Even now, decades later, I can still hear it in my head. That voice, calm, almost amused, like he was enjoying the fear he saw in my eyes. I froze, my blood turning to ice. I wasn't stupid. I knew exactly what Santa was supposed to look like. This man didn't belong here. My throat tightened and then instinct took over. Mom! Dad! I screamed so loudly it hurt my ears. The man's eyes widened in panic. He grabbed the bag he had by the tree, but when he heard my voice, he hesitated. Then, without thinking, he dropped it. It spilled open, the contents scattering across the floor. Ornaments, wrapped presents, a porcelain angel my grandmother had given us. "Damn it!" he hissed and sprinted toward the front door. I watched everything unfold in slow motion. He yanked the door open, the cold winter air rushing inside as he bolted into the night. I stumbled back, shaking, my legs turning to jelly. My mom was the first one downstairs. Her hair was wild from sleep. "Sweetheart, what happened?" she asked, her voice frantic. I pointed at the door, sobbing so hard I could barely speak. There was a man in our house. My dad dashed past us, barefoot, his voice booming. Where the hell is he?" He rushed outside into the snow, and my mom screamed after him, but he didn't stop. The police arrived soon after. 2 officers in bulky winter coats stepped inside, their breath visible in the frigid air. Officer Sanders knelt in front of me, speaking gently. "You did the right thing calling out for your parents. You're safe now, all right?" But I didn't feel safe. Not with the back door splintered. Not with the ornaments scattered across the floor. Not with the cold creeping in from the crack the man had left open. My dad came back inside, sweat running down his face despite the cold. "I almost caught him," he muttered, pacing. "I swear, I was right behind him." My mom wrapped a blanket around me. "Did he say anything to you?" she asked softly. I nodded, tears still streaming. He said he was Santa." Amelia was hiding behind the couch, pale as a ghost. My mom turned to Officer Sanders, her voice shaking. "We found footprints outside the window," she said. "They're not fresh, but they were there. And the neighbor's security light was triggered about an hour before I woke up." Officer Sanders' jaw tightened. "We had 2 break-ins tonight, just a few blocks from here," he said grimly. "Same method. Back door forced open with a tool. Looks like he wasn't just after presents. He was stealing memories." The idea of someone taking our ornaments made my stomach churn. Those weren't just decorations. They were pieces of our history, memories from the past, things that couldn't be replaced. In the days that followed, the fear slowly blurred into confusion and disbelief. Years later, when I was older, I asked my mom about that night again. She sighed, her hands folded on the kitchen table. "You don't remember the worst part?" she asked softly. "What do you mean?" I asked. "That man didn't run immediately when he saw you," she said. He hesitated, like he was deciding whether to shut you up. "Kitty! Ah!" My stomach dropped. Then my dad added quietly from across the room, his voice strained. "When I chased him outside, he was hiding behind the neighbor's shed. If I'd been 5 seconds slower, I don't know what he would have done." They never told me that when I was 6. They didn't tell me how close I came to danger, or that the police later found more footprints circling our house, or that our neighbor's security system had been triggered an hour before I woke up, or that the man had tried to break into another house that same night. They told me one thing: he was never caught. I'm an adult now, with a son of my own. I lock every window, every door. I check them twice, sometimes 3 times before bed. My wife teases me for being paranoid, but she doesn't know what it's like to wake up on Christmas Eve and find a stranger in your home. She doesn't know the feeling of a grown man staring at you from behind a tree, lit with lights and ornaments, whispering to keep you quiet. She didn't see the way his eyes changed when he realized I wasn't fooled. And every Christmas, when I decorate our tree, I see the empty spots, ornaments replaced with new ones without meaning. I see that black duffel bag hitting the floor. I see him turning toward me, and I hear his voice. Shh. Santa's working. That's the part that never leaves. It was a rainy day when Clara found the painting. She had always been fond of antiquities, old furniture, dusty books, and particularly artwork. It was during a visit to a small, obscure antique shop, tucked away in a narrow alley of the city, that she first saw it. The painting was hidden in a dimly lit corner of the shop, its frame adorned with intricate gold carvings that seemed to shimmer faintly, almost as if they had a life of their own. The painting depicted a young woman, pale and delicate, dressed in a dark Victorian gown. Her eyes, however, were what caught Clara's attention. They seemed to be looking directly at her, their expression unreadable, yet filled with an unsettling depth. The woman's mouth was slightly curled into a knowing smile, but it was the kind of smile that suggested a hidden darkness, something no one would dare to ask about. Clara couldn't explain it, but she was drawn to the painting. It felt as though the woman in the portrait was calling to her, begging to be freed from the confines of the canvas. She approached the piece carefully, almost reverently, and ran her fingers lightly along the frame. The touch sent a strange chill down her spine, and she immediately pulled her hand back. A voice inside her head warned her not to touch it, but she dismissed it as nothing more than her imagination running wild. The shopkeeper, an elderly man with graying hair and a crooked smile, watched Clara closely. "That painting," he said in a gravelly voice, "is not something you want to buy. It's cursed." Clara's curiosity only deepened. Cursed? What do you mean?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. The shopkeeper hesitated, his gaze flickering toward the painting. "People who have owned that painting, strange things happen to them. Disappearances, madness, accidents. It's best to leave it where it is." Clara was about to dismiss his words when the shopkeeper added, "But if you truly want it, I won't stop you." After a long moment of indecision, Clara made up her mind. She had to have it. She didn't believe in curses or superstitions. She was a woman of reason. The price for the painting was steep, but it felt like destiny. Clara paid for the painting and left the shop, unaware of the dark forces she was about to invite into her life. Clara hung the painting in her apartment as soon as she got home. The room seemed to change the moment she placed it on the wall. The air grew heavier, the temperature slightly colder, and an eerie stillness settled over the space. Clara tried to ignore the growing sense of discomfort as she went about her day, but it was impossible to shake the feeling that she was being watched. That night, Clara went to bed exhausted, but her sleep was far from peaceful. She dreamed of the woman in the painting. In the dream, the woman's eyes followed Clara's every movement, and her smile grew wider, more twisted. The dream shifted into something darker. A shadowy figure appeared, lurking behind the woman, its presence suffocating. Clara tried to scream, but no sound came out. Suddenly, the shadow lunged at her, and she woke with a start, her heart racing. She sat up in bed, drenched in sweat, and glanced at the painting across the room. The woman's eyes seemed to glimmer in the dim light of the room, and Clara felt a chill run down her spine. It wasn't just a nightmare. Something was wrong with that painting. Clara couldn't explain it, but she knew that the woman was not just an image on canvas. She was alive in some way. Clara's obsession with the painting grew as the days passed. She couldn't stop thinking about it, the woman's face haunting her thoughts, her eyes always on the verge of revealing something terrible. Determined to uncover the truth, Clara began researching the painting's origins. She visited local libraries, scoured online forums, and even reached out to art historians. What she discovered was far more chilling than she could have imagined. The painting was created by an artist named Charles Darnell, a brilliant but reclusive painter in the late 19th century. The woman in the painting was believed to be his fiancée, Eleanor Blackwood. Darnell had been completely enamored with Eleanor, but their relationship was marred by tragedy. Eleanor was found dead in her home under mysterious circumstances, her body cold and her face frozen in a horrific expression of terror. Darnell was never found, but rumors spread that he had gone mad with grief and rage, and it was said that he had painted the portrait of Eleanor in a fit of obsession before disappearing without a trace. As Clara dug deeper, she learned that the painting had changed hands several times over the years, with each new owner experiencing bizarre and inexplicable events. Some claimed to have seen the figure in the painting move. Others reported hearing whispers in the dead of night. Some simply vanished, their fates unknown. The final owner before Clara had been a wealthy businessman named Richard Payne. Payne had acquired the painting from an estate sale, but after a few months, he was found dead in his study, the painting hanging ominously on the wall. The authorities had ruled his death as a heart attack, but his personal belongings had been strewn about the room as though there had been a struggle. The connection was undeniable. The painting had cursed everyone who owned it. And now, Clara was its newest victim. The strange occurrences escalated. Clara would hear faint whispers coming from the painting at night, soft murmurs that seemed to be calling her name. The shadows in her apartment grew longer, darker, and the woman in the painting began to change. Her smile widened, and her eyes seemed to grow even more intense, as if she were reaching out to Clara from within the canvas. One evening, Clara invited her friend Lucy over to try and ease her growing paranoia. Lucy was immediately unsettled by the painting, the way it seemed to dominate the room. "Clara, you have to get rid of this thing," Lucy urged, her voice shaking. "I don't care what it costs. It's not worth the risk." Clara laughed nervously. "It's just a painting, Lucy. There's nothing wrong with it." But night, Lucy had a nightmare. In her dream, she was trapped inside the painting, surrounded by the darkness that seemed to grow thicker with each passing second. The woman in the portrait reached out to her fingers curling around Lucy's throat. When Lucy awoke, her neck was sore, as though someone had been choking her in her sleep. Clara's mind began to unravel. The whispers from the painting became louder, more persistent. They no longer seemed like distant sounds, but voices that filled her head, demanding that she understand their message. The woman's smile was now a grotesque snarl, and her eyes gleamed with malevolence. Clara's life became consumed by the painting. She couldn't eat, sleep, or think about anything else. She stopped going to work, stopped answering her phone. She sat in front of the painting for hours, waiting for the woman to speak to her, to reveal the truth. One night, Clara found herself standing before the painting, mesmerized by the woman's eyes. She could hear her voice in her head, clear as day. Come to me." Without thinking, Clara reached out to touch the canvas. As her fingers brushed the surface, a jolt of electricity shot through her, and she felt herself being pulled forward. The painting seemed to come alive, the woman's hand emerging from the canvas, her fingers curling around Clara's wrist. Clara screamed, but the woman's grip tightened. She tried to pull away, but the force was too great. The room seemed to spin, and Clara felt herself being drawn into the painting, into the darkness that awaited her. The next morning, Clara's apartment was found in disarray, but Clara was gone. The painting still hung on the wall, its smile wider than ever. Those who searched the apartment found no trace of Clara, no body, no sign of a struggle, just the empty, haunted gaze of the woman in the painting. As time passed, the painting disappeared from Clara's apartment. No one knew where it had gone, but rumors spread of another tragic soul who had fallen victim to its curse. The painting, like the woman in it, remained a mystery, an enigma, forever waiting for the next person to claim it, to succumb to its dark power. A few months into being single, I matched with a girl named Marissa Cole on Tinder. We messaged lightly. She gave me her Instagram, but it fizzled out fast. She mostly just watched my stories without ever replying. That used to happen a lot back in college, but in my late 20s it just felt pathetic. For context, I'm Evan, 28, an IT auditor. Good money, painfully boring life. After my ex moved out, I thought the silence would be soothing. No arguments, no clutter, no one messing with my thermostat. But by the third week, the quiet felt heavy, oppressive. The house creaked at night. The kitchen light flickered. Sometimes I swore I heard footsteps upstairs even though I lived alone. So yeah, I was swiping constantly just to have conversations. Any conversations. One night in early December, I posted a short clip on IG of the snow outside my window, and out of nowhere, Marissa responded. She wrote, "We should do something cozy. You into Christmas stuff?" We talked for maybe an hour, and I threw out ideas. Skating downtown, visiting the light show, going to the market. But she insisted, almost strangely eagerly, that we start by decorating my tree together. I didn't even have my fake tree set up. It was in the storage closet above my laundry room, a pain to move alone. She said she'd love to help. Against my better judgment, I agreed. I told her to come by around 9 p.m. Around 7:45, I rushed out to buy wine, 2 bottles, just in case things went well. When I got home, I vacuumed, wiped everything down, lit a candle, basically pretended my life wasn't falling apart. At 9:00 sharp, I was sitting stiffly on the couch pretending to watch a movie. No texts. 9:10, nothing. 9:20, nothing. I figured she bailed. Then at 9:32, she texted. "I'm outside." I opened the door, and the first thing I noticed was her height. She was easily 6'2", towering over me. The second thing was the smell. A suffocating cloud of overpowering floral body spray, layered thick like she was trying to hide something. We sat on the couch. She sat much, much closer than I expected. Our legs almost pressed together. Up close, she looked older. Sharper features, sunken eyes, chapped lips. And beneath the perfume, a faint, sour sweat odor seeped through. It made my stomach turn. I offered wine. She said yes immediately. There's a strange disappointment when you finally meet someone you've been talking to and everything about them feels wrong. Her energy was off. She talked too fast, laughed at odd moments, didn't blink enough. We toasted, and she instantly splashed a streak of red wine across my pale couch. I forced a smile, rushed to get towels, dabbed at the stain. She apologized over and over, but something in her tone felt rehearsed, like she wasn't sorry at all. Trying to break the tension, I suggested we get the tree. I climbed into the storage loft, sliding the big box forward. I handed her the smaller pieces first. Then the biggest, heaviest part, the one I usually needed another guy to help with. She grabbed it out of my hands like it weighed nothing. It startled me. We brought everything to the living room. Christmas music played softly. I poured more wine. She drained hers in a single gulp. I drank slower, but even then, I started feeling lightheaded. Too lightheaded. I'm a lightweight, sure, but this was different. My vision felt swimmy. I told her I'd grab the ornament bins from the basement crawl space, and that she could relax. Down in the crawl space, while pulling the first bin toward me, dizziness slammed into me like a wave. My head buzzed, my arms tingled. I leaned against the wall to steady myself. I brought the first bin upstairs. She wasn't in the living room, not in the kitchen, not in the bathroom. "Marissa?" I called. Silence. I checked the guest room. Empty. My bedroom, empty. She was just gone. No sound of the door opening, no footsteps, nothing. I messaged her on Instagram, left on delivered. I stood there replaying everything in my head. Did she think I was weird? Ugly? Boring? The couch suddenly felt way too soft, like gravity pulling me down. My eyelids drooped. I kept checking my phone. The room kept tilting. My thoughts blurred. Then blackness. No dreams, no time passing, just darkness. I woke up, unable to move. The TV was off. Lights off. The entire house silent. I tried lifting my arm. It felt like it weighed 100 pounds. My breathing was shallow. My throat numb. Somewhere in the dark living room, I heard it breathing. Someone else breathing. I found my phone under my thigh and tapped the screen. The sudden light illuminated the room for half a second, and in that moment, I saw it. A tall figure standing directly in front of me. So close I could smell the body spray. I dropped the phone immediately, plunging the room back into darkness. My voice cracked. "Marissa?" No reply. I picked up the phone again, turned on the flashlight. It was her. Standing perfectly still, eyes wide, sweat glistening on her face. Her pupils were blown wide, like she hadn't slept in days. I tried to sit up. My body wouldn't cooperate. My limbs were jelly. My tongue felt thick. She didn't speak, just stared down at me, breathing too fast, too hard. Then, without warning, she bolted toward the stairs, sprinting with heavy pounding footsteps. A door slammed somewhere below. My body slowly came back. I could wiggle my fingers. then my arms. Then I finally sat upright, gasping. I checked Instagram. Her profile was gone. Deleted, or she blocked me. No car outside except mine and the neighbors. I searched the house room by room. Nothing missing except all my prescription meds, every vitamin bottle, my ADHD medication, my leftover painkillers from surgery, even the iron supplements in my kitchen drawer, and one bottle of vodka. Everything else was untouched. She didn't come for me. She came for the drugs. I called the police. Gave them the username, the name she claimed, everything I knew, which wasn't much. They questioned my neighbor. He saw nothing. The cops told me people like this target men living alone, especially men who drink. They watch your stories, learn your habits, and wait until you're lonely enough to invite them in. Before leaving, one officer said something I'll never forget. Count yourself lucky. Some of them don't leave after they get the pills. I never set up the tree that year, and I never used dating apps again. To this day, I still can't shake the image of her silhouette standing over me, perfectly still, waiting for me to wake up.
Two years ago, I moved to Texas with my best friend and roommate, Sarah. We rented a small, cozy apartment on the outskirts of town. I've always had a fascination with dolls, not the plastic kind, but those beautiful porcelain antiques. To me, they weren't creepy, they were comforting. So, on my birthday, when Sarah handed me a delicately wrapped box, I was thrilled. Inside was the most stunning doll I had ever seen. Her skin was pale porcelain, smooth except for a faint hairline crack under her right eye. She had cascading auburn curls and the most hauntingly vivid blue eyes I'd ever seen. Eyes that glistened like glass but somehow felt alive. I was in awe. I saw her in an antique shop and immediately thought of you, Sarah smiled. I named her Hazel. She took her place of honor on my nightstand, facing my bed. At night, her eyes reflected the soft light of my lamp. They sparkled, almost too much. In the beginning, everything felt fine. Hazel added charm to my room, and I found her presence oddly comforting. But that comfort began to sour within a week. It started small. My phone charger would be unplugged in the morning. A spoon I knew I had placed in the sink would be back on the counter. I blamed Sarah at first, thinking she was playing pranks, but she swore she wasn't. Then came the whispers. At night, just as I was drifting to sleep, I'd hear faint murmurs. Soft, female, like a lullaby sung through clenched teeth. I'd sit up, heart pounding, but the room would be silent except for Hazel's eyes, reflecting moonlight, staring directly at me. I told myself it was stress, a trick of the ears, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger, heavier. I couldn't shake it. It followed me from room to room, especially when Hazel was nearby. One night I awoke with a start, my arm stinging. When I turned on the light, there were 3 long, thin scratches running down my forearm. I checked the sheets, my nails, even under the bed. Nothing. But Hazel, who normally sat upright, had slumped forward, her face turned toward me, mouth slightly agape. The next morning, I found strange symbols drawn in soot on the mirror. Circles within circles, lines like thorns twisting into runes. I wiped them away quickly, refusing to acknowledge the fear spreading in my chest. That day, I went to see Father Thomas at the small Catholic church down the road, a kind, older man with tired eyes. When I explained what was happening, he grew silent. "Camila," he said gravely, "some objects carry spiritual residue, negative energy. They can become vessels, homes for things that should not walk this world. He offered to cleanse the apartment and banish whatever was attached to the doll, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't give up Hazel. She was a gift from Sarah, a symbol of our bond. So I politely declined. That night, the whispers returned, louder, clearer. I heard my name spoken with a breath that wasn't mine. "Kama, help me." I froze. My entire body went numb. Hazel sat in her usual place, but her head had turned slightly. I was sure of it. Her eyes gleamed unnaturally in the dark. Still, I didn't scream. I didn't run. Instead, I replied, "What do you want?" There was no answer, but something shifted. The air grew colder. My breath fogged up. Hazel's eyes seemed to soften for a moment. I told myself I was imagining it, but deep down I knew I wasn't. From then on, I began speaking to her. Every night, whispered conversations in the dark. I told her about my fears, my childhood, my dreams. I shared things I had never even told Sarah. In return, Hazel never moved, never answered again. But she listened. I could feel it, and I felt connected. But the deeper our connection grew, the darker the apartment became. The lights flickered constantly. Cold spots would appear in corners. Sarah started having nightmares, screaming in her sleep. Once, she woke up with a nosebleed and a bruise in the shape of a small handprint on her thigh. She asked me to move Hazel into the closet. I refused. We argued. Then one morning, I found Hazel sitting on Sarah's pillow. Neither of us had put her there. That day, Sarah packed a bag and left to stay with her sister. She never came back. Left alone, I sank deeper into Hazel's world. The symbols reappeared, carved into the wooden floor this time. The walls began bleeding, ever so faintly, around the baseboards. Not red, something darker, black, like oil. At night, I'd hear footsteps circling my bed. My reflection in the mirror would sometimes smile when I didn't. My fingernails turned brittle. My skin grew pale. I barely slept. And still, I couldn't part with her. Then came the night I truly lost control. I was lying in bed, eyes closed, when something crawled onto my chest. I opened my eyes, but saw nothing. I couldn't move. It was like being pinned down by invisible hands. My chest burned, my vision blurred, and then I heard Hazel again. But this time, her voice was not soft. It was desperate, screeching. "Kama, don't leave me!" I screamed. My body jerked free. I lunged for the door, but it slammed shut. The windows rattled. Hazel had fallen off the table and lay face up on the floor, smiling. Blood dripped from her porcelain lips. That was the moment I finally broke. The next day, I called Father Thomas. I begged him to come. This time, he brought help. 3 people in dark robes, carrying candles and vials of holy water. They set up quickly, chanting as they surrounded Hazel. The moment they began, the room changed. The temperature plummeted, the windows shattered, the floor shook. Hazel shrieked, a high-pitched sound that came from nowhere and everywhere. Her mouth opened wider than it should have, revealing a cavern of black. Father Thomas shouted ancient prayers. One of the robed women collapsed, blood pouring from her nose. The lights exploded, but still they continued. The chanting rose to a fever pitch and then silence. Hazel's body cracked, a line running straight down her face. Her eyes rolled back, and then stillness. She was gone. They sealed Hazel in a glass case, wrapped in silk with runes burned into the fabric. She was taken to a private museum that specialized in cursed objects, a place far from here, far from me. I watched them carry her away, and I wept, not from fear, but from something else, grief. Even now, months later, I can't explain it. Was Hazel truly evil, or was she just misunderstood? A spirit reaching out, confused, lonely, clinging to the only person who ever listened. My room is empty now. Peaceful, yes, but sterile. Cold, quiet. too quiet. And sometimes, just as I'm falling asleep, I swear I hear it again. A whisper. Come on. And I wonder, did I really save myself? Or did I abandon her?
A deserted country road winds through dense fog. Tall trees loom overhead. A single car headlights cut through the darkness. Inside the car, Jason Harper driving and Emily Harper sitting in the passenger seat. Jason, are you sure this is the right place? The realtor said it's just down this road. The house is supposed to be abandoned for years, perfect for renovations. The car rounds a bend and suddenly the silhouette of an old decaying mansion emerges from the fog. Its windows are dark, some broken vines crawling up the walls. Jason parks the car. They get out. The wind picks up, carrying a faint, whispering voice. Emily shivers. The front door groans as Jason pushes it open. The air inside is cold, stale, and smells faintly of decay. They walk in. Their footsteps echo in the empty halls. Dust swirls around them in the moonlight. A grand staircase leads up to the second floor, its banister warped and rotting. Suddenly, a faint child's laugh echoes from upstairs. Emily freezes. Did you hear that? Emily Enchka Ging. Probably a raccoon or something. They continue, exploring. In the dining room, a long table is covered in cobwebs. Chairs are overturned. A silver candelabra lies on the floor, dented. Jason picks it up and shakes it gently. Then the candelabra flies from his hands across the room, smashing into the wall. Jason and Emily stumble back, horrified. A loud creaking sound comes from the staircase. Both look up. A dark shadow moves across the top landing. It disappears. Emily gasps. Dort. Emily unwraps a blanket, trying to warm herself. A sudden knock comes from the window. Both freeze. Who's there? Who's there? Emily startled. Jason slowly approaches the window. Nothing is outside. He sighs in relief. The knock comes again, louder this time. A faint, distorted child's voice whispers, "Go away." Emily clutches Jason's arm. The temperature in the room drops dramatically. Their breath becomes visible. Suddenly, the lights from their flashlights flicker. Shadows stretch unnaturally along the walls. A cold, unseen hand brushes Emily's shoulder. She screams. Jason grabs a nearby chair, swinging it wildly, but hits nothing. The room is empty, yet the presence is undeniable. A low, guttural whisper fills the room. You shouldn't have come. Jason and Emily huddle together, terrified as the first real night of horror begins in Willow Creek. Jason and Emily are huddled on the floor, clutching each other. The cold in the room is unbearable. Their breaths come in short gasps. Shadows twist unnaturally across the walls. Jason grabs his phone, trying to call for help. No signal. He tries again. Still nothing. A soft, dragging sound comes from the hallway outside the room. Something is moving. A door at the end of the hallway creaks open slowly on its own. Emily hides her face in Jason's chest. The room grows darker, as if a shadow is spreading. A low, almost human-like moan echoes from the corridor. I want to leave. I want to go home, Emily crying softly. Jason slowly stands, trying to look brave. He grabs a candle from a dresser and lights it. The flame flickers violently, then steadies. He steps into the hallway. The floorboards groan under his weight. Cold wind brushes past him. He shines the candle down the hall. A small, pale hand suddenly reaches out from under the staircase, grabbing at him. Jason stumbles back, screaming. Jason! Emily screaming. The hand disappears as quickly as it appeared. Silence falls. But now, faint whispers are all around them, echoing from the walls and ceiling. Whispers overlapping. Leave. Now. Go. The next morning, the rain has stopped, leaving a damp, foggy landscape outside. Jason and Emily are examining the house by daylight, the horrors of the night before fresh in their minds. They find a small library, dusty and full of cobwebs. Emily opens a large book, flipping through pages of old newspaper clippings. Jason, look at this. Clippings show a series of mysterious deaths and disappearances in the mansion, all involving children. One article catches their attention. A woman named Madeline Thorne was accused of witchcraft and killed on the property in the 1800s. A sudden loud bang upstairs makes them both jump. A chair slides across the floor on its own. The air grows icy again. Jason grabs Emily's hand. We need help. Someone who understands this. Jason finds an old working landline in the study room. He dials frantically. The line clicks. Then a calm, confident voice answers. This is Dr. Marcus Vale. How may I help you? My name is Jason Harper. We moved into a mansion in Willow Creek. Something's wrong. There's a spirit here. It attacked us last night. Take a deep breath. Describe the events from the beginning. Jason recounts everything. The whispers, the shadows, the hand under the stairs, the dragging sounds, and the chilling presence. Emily adds the newspaper clippings about Madeline Thorne. Jason hangs up, glancing at Emily, both knowing that tonight will be even worse than before. The rain has returned, light at first, then heavier. Fog swirls across the lawn. Jason and Emily stand at the edge of the driveway, nervously awaiting Dr. Marcus Vale and his team. A sleek black SUV appears through the mist. 3 figures step out. Dr. Marcus Vale, a calm, experienced paranormal investigator. Sister Helena, a medium with deep spiritual insight. And Liam, a tech specialist with a knack for detecting anomalies. Are you ready? Once we enter, there's no turning back until we've dealt with her. I don't know if I can. Emily trembling. They all enter the mansion. The doors creak ominously, echoing through the dark hallways. The team sets up equipment, EVP recorders, EMF detectors, cameras, and candles. Dr. Vale explains the plan. Madeline Thorne is strong. She feeds off fear. She reacts to sudden movements, loud sounds, and non-vegetarian food. Her anger stems from betrayal and her violent death. Tonight, we'll attempt to communicate, then bind her spirit. Jason and Emily sit in the corner, holding each other. A faint whisper floats through the room, too soft to catch clearly. A sudden slamming sound upstairs causes Liam to drop his camera. Dr. Vale moves toward the staircase. He ascends, candle in hand. The shadows seem to stretch along the walls, forming twisted shapes. A chilling, high-pitched laugh echoes down the staircase. Dr. Vale carefully approaches a closed door at the end of the hallway. The temperature drops sharply. His breath becomes visible. Madeline Thorne, we are here to help you move on. The door slams open violently on its own. A shadowy figure appears. A pale woman in a tattered dress, her eyes black voids. Long black hair obscures most of her face. She floats a few inches above the floor, moving unnaturally. Madeline Thorne, your anger belongs to the past. You will not harm them. The ghost screams, a high-pitched wail that shakes the walls. Furniture slides across the floor. Candles extinguish themselves one by one. Liam shouts, trying to record everything. Sister Helena steps forward, holding a small pendant glowing faintly. By the light of the old, by the power of the unseen, I call you to listen. The ghost pauses, tilts her head. A whisper emerges, almost human. Why did they betray me? Ghost whispering. Suddenly, a loud crash is heard from downstairs. Jason and Emily run toward the sound. They see furniture thrown across the room. A shadow moves across the ceiling, then lands in front of them. It's Madeline Thorne, Emily screaming. The ghost lunges at Jason. He is thrown across the room. Emily tries to grab him, but the ghost grabs her too. Both are lifted off the ground by an invisible force. Dr. Vale runs to the center of the room, holding a small silver cross and chanting an incantation. The ghost lets out a chilling scream. Leave or die, ghost screaming. Jason manages to grab a piece of broken furniture, swinging it at the ghost. It passes through her like smoke, but slows her down. Dr. Val's shouting grows louder. Sister Helena joins in, the pendant glowing brighter. The ghost starts to dissipate slowly, her wail fading. The air warms. The objects stop moving. Jason and Emily collapse to the floor, exhausted but alive. Dr. Vale serious to Emily and Jason. This is only the beginning. Spirits like Madeline Thorne, they are powerful. But tonight, she has been weakened. The camera lingers on the shadowy corners of the room, hinting that she may not be gone entirely. Jason and Emily sit as Sister Helena performs a vision ritual. Candles circle them. Incense smoke curls around their faces. Suddenly, the room shifts. The walls seem to bleed. Her fury is born of betrayal, starvation, and murder. They left me. They left me. Ghost whispering. Objects fly. Lights flicker. Shadows dart across hallways. Jason and Emily are trapped in a room, terrified. She's feeding off your fear. Stay calm. Dr. Vale shouting. Jason sees ghostly children in the corner, echoes of Madeline's lost family. One reaches toward him, whispering, "Join us." He panics, but Sister Helena intervenes with her pendant, driving the spirits back. Dr. Vale and Sister Helena lure Madeline into the attic. Candles, protective symbols, and chanting surround her. "You can't take me," Ghost screaming. Emily, summoned by Sister Helena, repeats her mother's name to calm Madeline, connecting to the part of her soul still human. Madeline, it's time to rest. You don't have to hurt anymore. The ghost shrieks, convulses, then suddenly falls silent, hovering briefly before dissipating into mist. The attic is still. The storm outside breaks into light rain. The mansion is quiet. Broken furniture remains, but the oppressive darkness is gone. Jason and Emily sit, exhausted but alive. It's over. She's gone. For now. Spirits like her leave traces. Respect the house. Don't return alone, Sister Helena. Madeline Thorne's story is a warning. Not all spirits want revenge. Some just want closure. The team leaves, the mansion looming quietly in the early morning fog. The camera lingers on a corner of the attic. Faint black smoke curls, hinting she may not be completely gone. Jason and Emily walk away, holding hands. Birds chirp. Life seems to return to normal, but a faint wind carries a whisper. I'll be waiting, ghost whispering. Cut to black. The credits roll, leaving a lingering sense of unease.